Solutions. This is Open Mic, and we're here with you today. And my guest is Mr. Rayneau Gajadhar, a household name, an individual who's been a personal friend of mine for the last 20 years, both socially and in business. And I thought it was most fitting to have an individual like that on this show today, and we promised all St. Lucians a very interesting show based on the synergies between myself and Mr. Gajadhar as far as business is concerned. Rayneau, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Shastri.
Yeah. Rayneau, how long have we known each other?
Since 1992.
Yeah.
So about 22 years now.
Yeah. And we have regular discussions on the telephone, and more importantly, we have been involved in business. I think you built the Coco Palm Hotel. Was that your first project for me?
No. I did other projects before that.
Yeah. I know that you did the Alfiona Plaza building in Rodney Bay, but that was it before or after?
That was before.
Before, yeah. What year is it you built? Anyway, maybe about
2004 was Coco Palm.
2004 was Coco Palm. And the Alfiona building was before? I thought it was
after.
It was after, yeah. It was after. And, you know, it's quite interesting because when Coco Palm went out for tender, I actually had an individual, another contractor on the site for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, my business intuition told me that I was on the wrong track. And I asked to be relieved of his responsibilities towards building, and I brought in Rayneau. And that I can never regret, because from the day Rayneau came on site, what Rayneau brought was a level of energy, expertise, and progress which hit the naked eye. I remember when we were excavating the premises, Rayneau would be working up to 2, 3 in the morning, trucks were moving. I never had to ask Rayneau to do something. He knew what he had to do. And you know, when business people get together and there's a certain synergy, it's just remarkable what happens. It's actually like a marriage that works. And you know, for the 23 years that I've known Rayneau, while he's on another job, any information I need, I can call on him. This guy has answers at the tip of his finger. And I really admire Rayneau for what he has done and what he's doing today and continues to do. Hence the reason why the Prime Minister has taken Rayneau to lead his productive council. And I think from that aspect, whatever Rayneau can achieve, I know if there's anybody else who can do it, Rayneau can, because of the way he thinks. The only challenges I see that Rayneau has in doing that is, will the people within his sector truly understand the thinking and the speed at which Rayneau wants to move? It's very difficult, because I've always maintained that entrepreneurs and business people are born, not made. It doesn't necessarily mean that a man can't learn. But you know, most of us who work hard in life, it really boils down to the fact that it's not really work, it's the love for what you do. And that was, what's the word should I use now? That was corroborated by Mr. Butch Stewart last week when I went to an opening in Grenada. And the question was posed to him by the Prime Minister of Grenada, who said to him, how can you possibly run 27 hotels, employing 13,000 people, and doing all the work? And his answer was, it's not work, because I love what I do. And on that score, I asked Rayneau to give a little synopsis of what he's done and our relationship and how I impacted on his life. I'm older than Rayneau. He saw the things I had achieved when I came back here, and we worked together, and he understood the direction I was going. Rayneau.
Very well. Thanks, Mr. Shastri. A very good introduction of me there. Actually, Mr. Shastri, you know, you've always been Mr. Shastri, and everybody looked at you as well-recognized person when I got into the small equipment businesses, when we got to know each other. That time I was renting Bobcats. I don't know if you remember it.
Now
But
that you said so, I remember that.
That's when
yeah.
we really got to know each other.
Yeah.
And since then, you always liked my style of work. And you kept calling me back and calling me back. And then over the years, we grew to have a good relationship where you would even call me for advice when you think of something and was not sure if you should go that direction or that direction, because I think you respected my opinion of doing stuff as well. More often than not, I think we disagree on a lot of things, but the disagreement is not like what would normally be with somebody else. You take my disagreement of what it is and think about it and reorganize and see, maybe from my point of view, which is what many people do not do, that you cannot disagree them, but you are not that type of person. You have been excellent, forward thinking, you take risk, you do not bother about what anybody has to say about you. As a matter of fact, I think you thrive on what people have to say about you, whether they be good or bad. And it really doesn't affect you, you just keep moving on. I always said, and I kept telling you, when you came back to St. Lucia, you came back to St. Lucia at age 52. It means that I have 3 years again for me to get to 52, because I'm 49 now. I'm actually 48. For me to start working. So before I begin to work, before I start working...
Actually, I came back when I was 48.
You came back when you were 48?
I was 48
okay.
to St. Lucia.
Right.
Yeah. Having spent the 25 years in the shipping business, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, basically,
yes.
This is where you started off in St. Lucia, and it means that I had a long lead before you. So there's...
Along with all the experience you've already acquired.
From you, yes. And what it means is, for me, what I always use as motivation is to say that I am still a little boy, and if you could have started at 48, 50, it means I cannot say that I am tired or frustrated, because look where you are now, starting at that late age and accomplishing so much. And that is the driving motive. I mean, I hear so many people 50 and say, I'm 50, I'm retired, I'm not going to do anything else. And it's not about work for me. I am driven by success. I look at opportunities. I look at all what's out there and I go for it and I make it work. That's what I am driven by. It's not about the money or it's not about the fame. It's just about being successful.
Now, having laid a short foundation on our ability, I want to address now the way forward. One of the reasons why I've asked Rayneau to come today, because I am indeed concerned about where St. Lucia is today, commercially and economically, because this is my home. I can in fact leave St. Lucia, but I would not want to leave St. Lucia, because the few acquaintances that I have here, I don't want to rekindle a relationship away at my age and stage of life. So on that score, I have certain comments I would like to make, but Rayneau is deeper into the construction industry, where he actually interacts with a number of people on a day-to-day basis because of the flexibility of his business, production of raw materials, building of bridges, building of homes. Rayneau has just completed a tremendous business in Corinth, some 20,000 square feet, where he has a hardware store, and he's doing a number of things and promoting himself and making a lot of stuff available to people that are not here. Rayneau, what advice could you offer to anyone today to see a better St. Lucia, to be able to get out of the doldrums, to assist the people of St. Lucia, the government of St. Lucia, from that aspect?
All right, Mr. Shasney, what I want to say here is, it's not a one answer that it's going to solve this problem. I think we need to look back just a little bit before we move forward. I'm not looking back for us to stay behind, but we need to look back. Sir John Compton run St. Lucia for about 30 years. And he was a man with vision. He had a plan, and his plan was not just for today. He was able to put together long-term, medium-term, and short-term goals, which he accomplished. He came under severe and tremendous pressure from opposition because they never understood where he was going and what he was going to achieve. When John Compton lost power and government changed, I guess, everybody got tired of the same thing because things were good. And when things are good is when people complain more. And we saw a change of government. When we saw that change of government, it took 5 years for the government at the time to organize, understand, and see where the country had to go. But I do not think we have been provided with the vision that the country needs to move to another 25 years. St. Lucia has been run on a 5-year run and not a 25-year plan. And that is where I think our problem is. Because we need to start thinking that when we do something today, it's going to affect us in 25 years' time. Not now.
Correct.
We are good for now. Whatever needs to happen for a change in what we are doing now, it's not going to be an answer for now or 5 years' time. Whatever happens now, it's going to be a result in 15 to 25 years' time. And those things are not going to be easy pills to swallow. We need to have somebody who's really strong that's going to say, this is what you have to do for you to achieve this. I mean, I heard, and while I was growing up, you would have heard that BBC and CNN, both the US and British presses, would say the worst things about China as we were going. So over the last 20 years, you would hear the worst things about China. That was the information that was given us about China. They never told us the good things that went on in China. China today continues to be the most productive country in the world, doing excellent. And it's because of the mentality that was instilled in the young people during that time, is why today we could see millionaires growing out of China. And it's not because they want to be millionaires. They have a sickness. They now are sick in work. They cannot stop. It's become part of them. It's not work anymore. It's become part of them.
And we don't have that in St. Lucia.
And we do not have that in St. Lucia. We do not have that in the Caribbean. Let's not go too far. Let's look at Cuba. Cuba continues to do well. Cubans leave Cuba and are the best in what they do. They are very good. We look at only the negative and we make a big deal out of it, and we never look at the positives that come out of it.
As you talk about Cuba, because you have to talk about education.
Yes.
Remember that there was a great educational program in Cuba. And what has just happened, I just spent 2 weeks in London, and what I discovered there was following the news, America has now clearly indicated that their education system has not grown with the times, but other nations have grown, so it has passed them. And that is part of the problem that America is experiencing today, because they can't cope with the new jobs that are on the block. Now, for instance, technology is moving at a rapid rate, and people have not retooled fast enough. And from what I'm learning abroad and what I see in St. Lucia, our education needs to gel with what is taking place in the world, or we ourselves will be left way behind the times. When we talk of unemployment, when you first of all, you look at the internet, you look at the voicemails, you look at all the various technological progress we have made. These have pushed people aside. so people employ less people. Cell phones, you know, where right now, you and I am sure, are on a project, and we can deal with our responses very quickly by a telephone. We don't have to wait to go back to the office, you know.
That's right.
So these are the areas that we need to focus on. We're going to take a break. This is the first part of our program. We'll be right back.